It's June 13th, 2007. We are at the home of June Coppock on 1026 Coble Street in Wabash, Indiana. Present at the interview is myself, Ashley Lichtenbarger, and the camerawoman, Megan Frick. We are talking about June's husband, Dorsey Edward Coppock, who served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. His highest rank upon discharge was gunner's mate, second class. June, did you know if your husband was drafted or if he enlisted?
No, he enlisted. He and my brother went together, and I enlisted just a couple of weeks or so before graduation from high school.
Okay. How long did you know your husband before he left?
Ever since I was in the 4th grade,
Okay.
which was quite some time.
Okay.
He and my brother were best friends, and we lived here in the neighborhood together.
Okay.
We lived here in the same neighborhood.
Okay. Did he grow up in Wabash?
Yes.
Okay.
He wasn't born in Wabash, but he grew up here. He was born in Missouri.
Okay. Do you know why he picked the Navy when he enlisted?
No, I don't know why the Navy, but that was his choice.
Okay. Were you married before he served in the military?
No. No. I was still in high school when the boys went in.
Okay.
They were about 2 months from graduation when they enlisted. And after they came back, they tested out and got their diplomas.
Okay. Were you much younger than him?
No, a year.
A year. Do you know where he served during the war?
He was trained at Great Lakes Naval Base, and then he was aboard, well, that's where he trained until he went, then he went to California, and he was on a ship all the time until I don't know where else he might have, what other training he might have taken. Mostly aboard ship, I think.
Okay. And while he was serving, where did he go?
Well, he went to the Aleutian Islands, and then they went to most everything in the south. They stopped at different islands and ended up in Japan.
Okay. Did his unit see any combat?
They did see a little, but not much.
Okay. Was he ever a prisoner of war or taken into captivity?
No.
No. Did he receive any awards or medals?
They gave him special, all these ribbons. It was certain special ribbons that he had received for time served and for, he was in some action, but I can't explain them to you. They're on his uniform.
Okay. Do you know about how he kept in touch with his friends and the family?
Wrote letters all the time and received letters.
Okay.
Then when they were ashore, he called them, and they did come ashore a couple times, and he got to leave.
Mm-hmm. When he was on leave, did he travel?
Just from California to Indiana, and back again.
Alrighty. Did he ever say how they entertained themselves while they were in service?
They did a lot of talking, but there were different ones that he thought were funny, and they kind of joked around, but there were no big entertainers anywhere that he went, like the stars that go and entertain. There was never a group of them, that large a group of them together. The ones on that too were a small group, and then he was aboard ship the rest of the time.
Okay. Do you recall him relaying any particularly unusual or humorous events?
Oh, they had a lot of things they laughed about, and when he talked to some of the fellas later, they laughed about things, but the only thing when they were there on Act 2, at night, there was something moving around out there, and they kept hoping it was white fox. They were looking for food, and sometimes they knew it was Japanese sailors looking for food too, so it was kind of scary, and he jumped into a foxhole one night hoping that the guy wouldn't shoot him because he didn't have his gun with him, After that, he carried his gun when he was out there at night. They went from one foxhole to the other, but most of the, and they were fired on when he was on the ship, but they were never damaged bad.
Can you tell a little bit more of the background about the Attu Island and the Japanese?
I don't know. All I know is that he said that the Japanese had pulled out and they had left some of their men there. And it was deep snow and it was cold and he didn't care for staying there much. But it was kind of interesting, and that was about all he ever told us about it.
Okay. Did he talk about his experience during the service much?
No, he told me things about the men who were with him, but he didn't talk about it much. He was just glad to be home and glad to be away from it, and he didn't want to be back.
How did he feel about the officers and his fellow soldiers?
Oh, he liked them all. He got along well with everybody, and he liked everybody.
Okay. Do you know if he kept a diary or a journal?
No, he didn't keep anything. I was surprised that he brought home as many pictures and things as he did.
All right. We'll go through the pictures later. After the war, did he go to work or did he go back to school?
A little bit of both, because all he had to do to go back to school was to test out, and they gave him his diploma. He and my brother both went out and were tested out and got their diplomas. And they went through a graduation with the class that was graduating when they were there. And because the principal had asked him to, so they kind of set an example for the other fellows coming back, that they would come back and go through graduation and get their diplomas. And then he went to work, and that's it. Got a job.
Where did he work?
He worked for a roofing company for quite some time. And then he went to General Tire. And then he left General Tire and sold insurance, and then he decided that wasn't for him, and he went back to General Tire. He was a maintenance welder and a millwright. They sent him to school to learn welding, and then he pretty much stayed with them.
Okay. Was he supported by the GI Bill in any way?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Did he create any close friendships while he was in the service?
Oh yeah, I've got some letters that we received after he got back, and he talked about the guys, and a couple of them came by to see him a minute, but they all went their own way. They had lots of catching up to do and living to do, and they didn't do much traveling around. They went home.
Okay. Was he a part of any veterans organizations?
He belonged to the Legion down here in Wabash all the time.
Did he, what kind of activities did he do while he was at the Legion?
We went to parties, and he went out on Decoration Day, Memorial Day, and put the flags on the graves of all the soldiers in a couple of cemeteries. The Lutheran cemetery especially, because that's where all my people are and part of his. And we went to one or two of the others, and then they went down party.
Okay. How did you see that the service and the experience of war affected his life after?
Well, he was much more grown up, and things were more serious for him than they had been before he left. He was just a kid when he left, and he was more grown up, more adult when he came back, but otherwise he was pretty much the same.
Did being in the military affect his ideas and his thoughts about war?
He didn't talk much about war, and he didn't want to talk about the killing that happened and the things that he saw. He put them behind him pretty much and went on.
Okay. Are there any stories other than that we haven't talked about that you would like to say about him during the war? Or about him in general?
No, he never hated them. He never hated the other people. He felt like they were fighting because they had to same as he was. And he never hated them. Yeah, I don't know what else would tell you, but he just wasn't a man who hated, I guess. If he'd have had to shoot one, he would have done it, but, I mean, face to face, but I know it would have been bothered him. Because he just wasn't that kind of guy. He wasn't bitter or he wasn't hard, and he was a good man.
I guess we're going to talk about some of the things about your experiences during the war. What were you doing during the war?
I was in high school, and I was working at a telephone company as an operator.
Okay. Were you living with your parents still?
Yes.
When did you and Dorsey get married?
Oh, you want a date? After he got back.
Okay.
I don't even remember what the date was.
Was
It's
it
been a long time.
a long time after he got back?
No, not a long time after he got back. When were we married? Oh, you want to shut that thing off? I'll go look at the...
Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay. I haven't celebrated a wedding anniversary for so many years because he's been gone that I can't even remember when we were married.
It's all right.
Gee.
Did you know you were going to marry him while he was at war?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty sure it was.
Okay.
Yeah. When we were we moved to Southside when we were in the 4th grade, and we all went to the river. Everybody went to the river. We played on the ice in the wintertime, and the kids fished and chased things and did stuff down there all the time. And when we first moved over here, my brother and he were down the river, and there were a couple other neighbor boys down there stirring around. And I came down the hill, and he told them, he said, "That's the girl I'm going to marry."
Oh.
And he did. So.
Oh. That's a good story. Did you do anything to help in the war effort?
Oh, no, there wasn't much that we could do here, but I did work at a telephone company, and we helped the boys that were calling home. And we helped make calls for them when they were home. But no, I didn't. There wasn't much that we could do.
Did you know anyone else who went to war?
Almost all my graduating class, all the boys. Yes, and I had a bunch of. I took them down there about the obituaries that were in the paper during the time. Mm-hmm. I cut them out and put them in a scrapbook, and well, it's been a while now, but they're down there at the museum, and I knew most every one of them. Those were the boys that didn't come back. Then I knew a lot of them, the ones in my graduating class, that did come back too.
While some of them were away, were you in contact with them?
No, not really. Not while they were gone.
And did you keep in contact with your, at the time, future husband?
Oh yeah. If there wasn't a letter in the mail, I heard about it. And then sometimes he would say, "It's been so long since he'd heard from me, why didn't I write?" And then the next day I'd get a letter saying, "You got a bucket full of them." He said, "I guess you were writing." Because you got several at a time. They just got held up someplace, or the ship wasn't available to the whatever, and so they all got there at one time.
Okay. How many children did you have?
Two.
After?
2 girls.
2 girls.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there anything else about that you would like to say?
No. Real nice girls. One of them lives here close, and the other one's in California. I've got 5 great-grandchildren. They're all on the West Coast.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, thank you very much. And then we're going to look at the pictures.
Okay.
This one.
His rank was gunner's mate, and this was one of the guns in one of the boats, and this was the one he was in charge of while he was on this one. And he really didn't talk about him much. I just know that that was his rank. That's what he had to do, and this was one of them.
Okay.
That one's in boots.
So the boot camp?
Mm-hmm.
It says to Mom with love, Junior.
Yeah, but this was one he sent his mother,
Mm-hmm.
and when she passed away, they gave it to me. The family did, but there's another one here, but it's small. Then that one was in Tokyo when the war was over. He was there. He saw where the bomb had fallen, and the ships in the bay that had been bombed, and they went on land and were there several days. They did things they shouldn't. He brought some things home that he had picked up, and these came from the Philippines when they were in the Philippines. This came from Japan. They went. There's a lot of money here too from Japan, but they went ashore, and there had been they stopped. They weren't supposed to be in there. They said it was for the officers only, but the guys went in anyway because there was a pond in there and had a canoe on it, and they went in and got in the canoe and was paddling around. One of the officers came out and told them they had to get out of there. It was officer country. And so they had to get out of there, but they sank the canoe trying to get out. So things like that he told me about. But and there's a lot of pictures of the Japanese people that they saw when they were on shore leave after they checked out the boats that were damaged. And that's about it. He didn't talk about it a whole lot.
Do you know where he got this flag?
No, he didn't tell me where he got it. It was with his things, and that's all he wanted to talk about. He didn't talk about it a whole lot.
Get video of it after.
I think there's money there from the Philippines. And
Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. I wish I could tell you more, but it's been too many years to remember any little details, and he didn't really talk about it a whole lot. He just was glad to be home and put it behind him. Then somebody would come or someone would call and he would remind him of things, but he didn't dwell on it.
Understandable. Alrighty, thank you.
Mm-hmm.